Welcome, namaste, and hello, viewers of Happiness Factors podcast, where we talk about everything mental wellness. And what better way to interview this amazing Ethan Agarwal, who is running for Congress, not just like a typical politician, and honestly, that's kind of the point of having him here. Ethan is a South Bay kid, son of Indian immigrants, and raised on the classic formula of hard work, sacrifice, and probably hearing, Beta, study first, make a life, at least a few thousand times. After degrees from Johns Hopkins and Wharton, Ethan could have taken the easy route and chased bigger stages elsewhere. Instead, he always loved his hometown. He came back home and built companies right here in the South Bay, including a tech company launching from his couch that grew into 140 plus jobs. Isn't that amazing? He has worked across tech, finance, entrepreneurship, and his heart is in public service. And what stands out most is that he is running for Congress with a focus, not just on building a career on politics, but a focus on community. There is no corporate PAC money involved, so he won't be biased, and he's calling for a ban on congressional stock trading. And talking directly about the issues which Bay Area families really stress about and care about: the healthcare costs, the growing price of the houses, making them more affordable, government accountability, and safety for you and your family. So, in a world where politics can sometimes feel like a stepping stone, Ethan's message is refreshingly simple. He is running for the community beyond political ambition. So, with that, I welcome Ethan. So, tell us a little more about yourself and why you decided to move from the cozy world of entrepreneurship to serving the community.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having me. Congratulations on your success with the podcast. Really impressive. Um, it's funny you called entrepreneurship a cozy world. I would say it's actually kind of the same in the sense of the skills are actually very similar, as a lot of it is about setting a vision and fundraising and hiring a team and selling a product. So entrepreneurship, I think, actually prepared me really well for a career in public service. But more importantly, I think I did two startups. My dad also was a founder and took his company public and sold it.
Oh,
And
nice.
at some point, I said that I want to give back to the community. And I think gratitude and I think public service and I think, understanding the opportunities that are available for the next generation is really important. I feel like Indians, we don't get involved that much in public service yet. We're
Very true.
mostly focused on, building our careers and stuff, and that's good. But at some point, we probably need to make sure that we're actually helping the next generation and serving our communities. So I decided it was time for me to get involved in that.
Nice. Congratulations. And it's so refreshing to see someone who's comes to the politics with the view of serving the community rather than just going from one position to another and for their own means. So thank you, Ethan, for being
Thank you.
an honest and community oriented leader. So tell me, when was the time you decided this? Now I'm going to leave entrepreneurship and join the politics.
Yeah, well, so I sold my second company last year, and also I've been a Democrat my whole life, and I worked for Senator Dianne Feinstein back in college, and I worked for a man named Wesley Clark who ran for president. I was also student body president at Johns Hopkins,
Nice.
where you get involved a lot in government. And I wanted to do something that gives back. And for about 20 years, I spent the first 10 years of my life working in finance and consulting. I was at McKinsey for a few years. And then I started these two companies. And then when I sold the second company last year, it was the first time in my life that I was not working for somebody.
Uh-huh.
And I also turned 40 last year. And I saw that the 2024 election to me was really a startling assessment of the Democratic Party. So
Uh-huh.
I felt like in order for me to understand what's going on, I need to throw my hat in the ring. And, it's one of those things where like it's never a perfect time to start a company. It's also never a perfect time to run for office. But I knew that if I didn't do it now, I would never do it. So it felt like a little bit of time to try something new.
Awesome. Congratulations. And if you weren't in politics, you just mentioned you were 40 years old. I would say you can always have a cosmetics company because you look way younger, at least 10 years younger.
I drink a lot of water, so that's why.
So so tell me, why should someone vote for you versus any of the other candidates like Roe or someone else who's running for the same office?
Yeah, look, I think it starts from the beginning, which is that I grew up here. So I grew up in Saratoga and Los Gatos. I went to a school called Harker, which is in the district for middle school and high school. I've spent tons of time in Milpitas and Fremont and Sunnyvale and Cupertino. So this is home for me. Roe is from Pennsylvania and spends most of his time in Washington, D.C. or in Ohio. I've heard he doesn't even have a home here. I don't know if that's true or not. But to him, this is just like an opportunity. It's a stepping stone. He wants to go run for president in 2028. And so he is using the 17th district as something for his own career. For me, this is personal because I grew up here and I know
Yeah.
what the issues are and I know the people very well. And I speak Hindi, and this is a 60% immigrant district.
Yes.
60% of the district speaks a different language from English at home. I also speak Spanish, which, there's about 20% of the district that speaks Spanish. So I care very deeply about the issues. I know which roads have potholes, and I've been around here and I know this area. So that's one. Two is the issues that are affecting this area are things like housing, education, as you said, healthcare costs.
Yes.
There's homelessness. There's a variety of these issues, transportation, that require someone who is focused on this district as opposed to focused on going around the country and building their own professional career. So I'm not going to run for president or vice president or anything. I wasn't even born in America. I was born in Montreal, Canada. So I can't run for president. And so I am going to focus specifically on this district. I want to get the Irvington BART station working. I want to fix the potholes on 880. I want to make sure that we lift 5,000 children out of poverty. These are the specific issues that I'm trying to protect against in this district. And it takes someone who's focused to do that. And Roe has lost focus.
Totally true. Because we all have been seeing the roads were never this bad, or kids were never this unsafe, where people like post on Nextdoor every day that some stranger approached someone, some kids, or did something which is not good, which we
Exactly.
did used to hear before. So tell me, what will you do different? Because the
Well,
same Democratic Party.
look, I think one of the mistakes the Democratic Party made is that they ended up focusing more on social issues than economic issues. So, as an example, there was something called Prop 16 a few years ago, which said that colleges are allowed to consider ethnicity in admissions. And what that means is that the hardworking students of the 17th district had a harder time getting into schools because the schools had to have a diversity quota. And Ro Khanna was a huge advocate for this.
Yes,
I am strongly against it because I believe that when you work hard, you should be rewarded for it. And
totally.
especially when it comes to schools, you want to make sure that the hardest working kids and the most capable kids with the best grades are the ones that end up getting into the best schools. And the Democrats said that no, we're going to focus on diversity and DEI. And I think, DEI matters, but not at the point where smart children can't get into school or they're penalized for their race, which is something that's not at all appropriate. So that's one. Two is, in general, we tend to focus more on issues that are around social things like LGBTQ issues or other issues that are not as important as the issues around jobs and housing and education and healthcare. I think LGBT is important. I'm also an ally, but I think it's lower on the list of things that we need to solve within the 17th District of California. So my focus is going to be on making sure that there's enough jobs here, making sure that there's enough houses here. I am less interested in solving the social issues that are facing the state.
Awesome. That's amazing. And I do agree with you that always DEI, or in India, we have the reservation quota, does not resolve the issue. Because then we are
Exactly.
sometimes, we don't give the position to the most qualified, and then the work won't be done as well as it could have been done if the best people were hired, irrespective of where they come from. And especially like
Exactly.
for someone like a air traffic controller, we need the best for the air traffic controller. Otherwise, accidents are going to happen. So
So
yeah,
it hurts the people that that role is designed to service, like
uh,
air traffic controller. It
yeah,
hurts the passengers of the airplane, and it hurts the person that applied who deserved the job. So
totally.
two groups of people get impacted by this kind of decision making.
Yeah. And I also agree that even for me, whatever positions, good positions I've gotten in the corporate world hasn't been because of DEI. It has been more because I worked twice as hard as the other people who were doing and could resolve the issues which involved. So talent is always important. And if two people in the talent are same, then it can factor more rather than
Exactly.
not. Awesome. So tell me, what will you do for the families who are suffering, like if they want more safety or if they want, of course, you already talked about the affordable housing and things like that. So what are some of the things you are going to do for to make people's, especially with young kids and families, lives easier?
Yeah, well, look, I think safety is important. Safety is usually a byproduct of homelessness,
Uh-huh.
and homelessness is usually a byproduct of supply of housing. So, what we need to do is we need to build more housing in California. The median house price right now is about $900,000, which
Yes.
is way too expensive. And California's 17th district is actually the wealthiest district in the entire country out of
Wow.
435 congressional districts. But there are still 5,000 children that live under the poverty line. So my plan is that we want to lift children out of poverty by bringing in more federal funding to schools and to underprivileged families. We want to build more housing that makes it more affordable in the two to $400,000 range. And then that would solve homelessness, which would then in turn solve crime. So that's one part of it. The second thing is we need to make sure that put it pretty simply, that crime is punished. Right now, we are too lenient on a lot of crimes that are being committed, which is something that I think the Democratic Party made a mistake in, is that we are letting criminals go. And as a result, two things happen. One is criminals are back on the street, but two is it causes more crime because there's no deterrent anymore.
Yeah,
So people know that if they go into a store and rob it, they're never going to get caught. So they just keep doing it over and over again, and that's why your toothpaste is locked up at CVS.
yeah,
Enforcing the rules on the books, I think, is important. There's a guy, our DA right now is a guy, Jeff Rosen, who's running for reelection, who I think is important that we
mhm,
reelect him.
yes,
And then the other thing is, again, we talked about schools, but I think we need to make sure that schools are also safe and places where students feel safe. And we're not spending, we spend a lot of money on schools, but we're not actually measuring the results of that. And part of it is because our administrative costs are ballooning dramatically. And part of that is because of the unions. So the California Teachers Union, CTA, is big and powerful. And my assessment is that the teachers are by and large good people. It's
yes,
actually the administrators or the oligarchs of the union that are the ones that are causing a lot of issues. So we need to make sure that we're reviewing the spend and spending it properly before we put more money behind it.
totally. And also the more accountability, right, where the money is going.
That's exactly right.
Awesome. So tell me, what is your message for the immigrant communities? For example, you mentioned you speak Spanish and of course you speak Hindi. So can you give some message to the audience, one in Spanish, one in Hindi?
हिंदी में देखिए, हम तो सब कहीं और से हैं, हिंदी अमेरिका में सब इमिग्रेंट्स हैं यहाँ तो I think anybody is going to criticize immigrants or criticize people that are trying to come here is being a hypocrite. मेरे माँ बाप तो इंडिया से आए हैं और मैं कनाडा से आया हूँ, तो हम सब कहीं से आए हैं, यहाँ से तो कोई नहीं है. तो I think we have to continue that immigrant culture, and we look at the immigrants that have come and created amazing jobs. We look at all the Indians that are CEOs of all these big tech companies. I think it's important that we make sure that we are continually welcoming immigrants, and especially the ones that are waiting in line properly and the ones that are following the rules to come here so that they get good jobs. Um, uh, East San Jose, which is where we see a lot of the Hispanic population, other population that is currently either living under the poverty line or close to it, are areas that are being overlooked. Um, I believe that it's important that we are prioritizing specifically those families that have children living under the poverty line within East San Jose so that we can become the first congressional district to completely eradicate childhood poverty. No one has ever done that before.
Wow.
And I believe part of that is being supportive of the Mexican immigrants that are in the district.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So tell me, what are some of the problems you see in the community or society that keeps you up at night?
You know, people are leaving, and I think of it as I'm concerned that California is going to become Detroit, which, 100 years ago, Detroit was the mecca of America, and industry was booming, and everybody was doing well, and everyone was happy, and these car industries were doing well, and then slowly, one by one, we started losing people, and now Detroit is, in the condition that it's in, and I'm concerned that in 20 years, we're going to suffer that same fate, and people are going to come here to go on vacation instead of actually coming here to build things. And I think there's an ethos associated with that, which is pro-business, pro-capitalism, pro-entrepreneurship, supporting wealth creators as opposed to demonizing people that are trying to build things. And I think about that all the time because I know so many people that have already left California or who are planning to leave California. And it's a shame because it should actually be the opposite, which is that everyone should want to come to California to build. But I think we're losing that.
No, I totally agree with you because even the company HPE that started California being a technology hub, they also left to open, at least part of them left to open an office elsewhere, I think Texas. So did Tesla, and even Apple has built a big presence in Texas, as well as people are leaving for Florida, Tennessee, because those people are giving them the facility to grow their company.
Exactly. Yeah. The facilities, the tax credits, the general environment is much more welcoming than it is here.
Yeah, even I heard that Del Monte left, so all the peach farmers here are now suffering because there's
Yeah,
no one to buy the peaches which they grew, and that's really, really sad to hear that.
exactly.
So, and of course, all the oil companies are leaving, and insurance companies have left. So, hopefully, these all come as an eye opener for the politicians here, because unless you have business, unless you have jobs, the state cannot prosper at all.
That's exactly right. I mean, whatever you think of Elon Musk, Tesla is based here. When he was building his gigafactory, he went to Texas, and that's 22,000 blue collar, six-figure jobs that went to Texas instead of coming to California simply because he couldn't get the permitting that he wanted to build something here. And I think that's insane.
Totally. And that's the reason I think even the oil companies moved out because they had so
Yeah.
many restrictions they could not operate here properly. So I'm glad that you are thinking about the business and thinking about the growth of the district as well as the state. So, what is something which people misunderstand about you?
Um, Ro kind of likes to call me the billionaire candidate, which is funny because Roe has raised more money from more billionaires than any congressperson ever in the history of the country. And so I am actually mostly backed by people that contributed less than $300.
Hmm.
I go and knock on doors of small businesses. I go to farmers markets. I visit people while, Roe is traveling the country and talking about like steel jobs in Pennsylvania. So I grew up, my dad was making $14,000 a year, worked really hard, and I grew up fortunately because of that. But my vision for the district has nothing to do with billionaires. My vision for the district has to do with bringing jobs here.
Yeah.
And I think the more you get to know me, the more you realize that I'm not, like an elitist snob or whatever that people think that I am. I'm a father of two boys and I'm working hard and I'm trying to take care of a area that I love very much.
No, and that makes sense. And even I think we all were impressed when we met you the first time because we had no airs about you and you were very approachable and you felt like, okay, he's an honest guy who will really take care of us if he wins. So thank you for that.
I
So that,
appreciate that.
thank you. So what values from your upbringing most influence your leadership style now?
It drives everything. I mean, I grew up, as you said, in a traditional Indian household. We focus very much on education and um, we go to Mandir every week and grew up speaking Hindi at home and, culture and family and food and music and all those things were very big for us. I went to India probably 20 times in my life, so I've been all over the place. Um, uh, I think, first of all, hard work is and just ethical behavior are very important to me. That's what I grew up with. That's what I think is really critical. Second is family is very important. So, in this district, as I said, 60% are Indian or Chinese, and similar, and also there's a Jewish population. And actually, the Chinese community, the Jewish community, Indian community are all very similar in that sense. And so I bring those morals and those values with me on the campaign trail, but also when I'm meeting a lot of different people of different backgrounds. And then the other thing, my dad always taught me to take care of, like, when I was starting my company, he said, take care of your team and everything else will solve itself. And I think that's true even in politics, which is you want to make sure you take care of the constituents and then everything else will resolve itself. So right now I'm trying to figure out what the best things I can do are to take care of the constituency.
Awesome. That's so refreshing to hear that you're already thinking about your constituents. So,
Yes, we actually launched this website called South Bay Savings
uh,
that tracks the cheapest prices of groceries,
oh, nice.
of gas, of beer. It's totally free and anybody in the district can use it. And it'll tell you where you can find the cheapest apples and pears and steak and everything and how to get there. And we just launched it because we feel like it's something that's helpful for people.
No, it is, and I think we all should share it on Nextdoor as well because people will totally relate to it.
That would be great. Yeah.
So, when was the moment you realized someone needs to fix this, and maybe it should be me?
Well, candidly, I have felt for a long time that somebody needs to fix this. I think the 2024 election was a big waking moment for me because when Trump got elected in 2016, I
Mm,
felt like maybe this is an anomaly. But then when he got elected again in 24, I said, okay, there is a shift happening, and we need to understand what that shift is. And so I felt like it wasn't sufficient for me to just
mhm.
complain. I felt like I really wanted to get involved.
Awesome. That's amazing. So, what's one tough decision you believe leaders avoid talking about honestly?
What I've learned in politics is almost every politician is setting themselves up for another job. So, um, Ro is running for president, and now the only thing he cares about is setting himself up for that. Uh, Even I would argue Gavin Newsom, to a certain degree, is setting himself up to run for president, or a lot of the candidates that you see in different positions are setting themselves up for the next one. And as a result, they abandon their constituency and then move on to the next thing. And I am not interested in that. I am interested in representing this district. I also
Mhm.
believe in term limits, so I'll probably do this for 10 years or so and then go back to the private sector after that. And I think that's a good thing. I'm not using this as a stepping stone to go to the Senate or to go to the cabinet or something like that. I just want to focus on Congress right now.
Awesome. So, you might have already answered this, but my next question is, what would you do differently from traditional politicians?
Well, I think term limits are very different.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to impose term limits on themselves.
Mhm.
So that's one. Two is I am instituting a stock trading ban in Congress, and furthermore, have said that I will divest my own portfolio,
Mhm.
even if that ban does not pass. And that's something that Rokana has not done or said that he would do. And so I think it's important when it comes to honesty and reliability and knowing why I'm voting the way I'm voting, that you know that it's not out of self-interest. And then there's a variety of other things once I'm in office that I would like to do differently, but those are two very important things for me.
Awesome. So, what's your approach to balancing innovation, business growth, and community well being?
I
All
think
three are
community
important
well
for growth. Yeah.
I think community well-being is directly correlated to the growth of the industries in the community. So as there's more entrepreneurship, more innovation, as there's more jobs, more companies, that results in people's pensions and 401ks and land values and asset values and stock portfolios and everything going up over time. And so I think the way that you see thriving communities is when you are less restrictive towards business, and the government very rarely actually does a good job of regulating industries it doesn't understand. I think there's some regulations that are necessary and that are important, and some that work quite well, but there's a lot that are actually self-serving or just designed to justify some bureaucrat's existence. And that actually hurts everybody. It's not just the amount of money that's wasted on the bureaucrat's salary, it actually hampers the growth of a particular industry, and that's really dangerous. So to me, we want to make sure that industry has an opportunity to thrive.
Yeah, that's totally, totally important. Love it. So, how do we rebuild the trust between people and politicians and institutions?
Well, you start by electing Ethan Agarwal to Congress.
Awesome.
Then I don't know. Then I think we need more people who are willing to impose term limits and make sure that they're not just using any job for a subsequent stepping stone. I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
And also that they are focusing more on the constituents, like you mentioned, rather than
Exactly.
what they'll gain out of it. So, what role would mental wellness and quality of life play in public policy? I always ask that question because I have a mental wellness company.
It's
But
a really good question. I think it's a fair question. I think, look, I'll tell you candidly, I am probably not the best poster child for mental wellness and sort of like work-life balance. I work all the time, and I try to take moments of mental wellness. I have two boys, and so playing with them makes me feel really good inside and makes me feel really warm and, relaxes me. But I think that if you love what you do and if you're passionate about what you're doing, I get comfort from getting things done. When I accomplish something that I've been working on, that gives me mental comfort and that I'm able to sleep well at night. Otherwise, I find it challenging, but that's not for everybody. I understand that, and at least for me, that's how I think about it.
awesome. And how would it play with the public policy?
Well, look, I think mental health challenges, especially for high school students, are becoming really bad. And I know that we're not paying our mental health professionals enough. I think at Kaiser, they recently decided to pay mental health professionals just as much as they're paying medical professionals,
Uh-huh.
which I think is a good thing. I think we need to make sure that there's enough tooling available for high school students who are getting overwhelmed or stressed, even with college students, but certainly with high school students. So I think there's a lot of policy that could go around improving the mental health of people, but also the mental health, I think, is a byproduct of the other problems that they're facing, right? So if you solve underlying issues, you will ultimately solve people's mental health as well.
Yeah. And also, I feel that for mental health or mental wellness, they should have an integrative approach, not just medicine first approach,
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree.
because it's a mental thing. So, I think some of the tools like meditation and other EMDR or hypnotherapy, they work wonders as well.
Exactly.
And
I totally
so,
agree.
thank you. Because I've had a few friends' kids who had anxiety, were put on medication. They were straight A students going to UC Berkeley, and after that medication, totally changed the mental setup. Now that kid
Yeah,
is
medication, I think.
huh,
Yeah, medication needs to be more of a second or third resort as opposed to the first thing.
totally, because they don't know like how it will reprogram the mind, right? So,
Exactly.
so what is one thing you disagree with your own party on? That's
Many
really hard.
things.
Okay.
Uh, no, look, I mean, as I said, I think the biggest thing now is the focus on economic issues versus social issues. I think we really need to solve jobs, homelessness, housing, education, healthcare before we focus on social issues. And everything comes back to that. And then as we just discussed, the social issues are often a byproduct of the economic issues. So if we're able to resolve those, I think that'll be better for everybody.
Nice. So, what's something voters deserve more honesty about?
Probably fundraising.
Mhm.
The political game is a game completely of fundraising, and there's so many misaligned incentives. And we often don't understand or appreciate how much money drives votes or drives what a politician says. And I think that it's good that we disclose where the money comes from. I think that's a really good thing. But I think that we need to do a better job of explaining to voters why we're voting a certain way and who may benefit and who wouldn't benefit from a certain bill or amendment or something like that. And I don't think we're doing a good job of that right now.
Totally. So, my next question is about some of the fears I've heard from lots of my friends and my colleagues, and people are afraid, oh, AI is going to replace their jobs, or because of AI, they cannot find any jobs, even like fresh grads. I heard that this is the worst time for them to try to find a new job because AI does the basic things which they were supposed to do. So, how should government prepare for the AI, automation, and future of work while positively impacting those who are looking for jobs?
Well, I think actually that the market is going to figure this out better than the government will. So I'll give you an example. We used to have phone switch operators where
Uh-huh.
when you called someone, there was a big switch of thousands of
Uh-huh.
plugs, and someone would pull a plug out and plug it in somewhere else, right? And that job is now gone. And not only is that job gone, that was not a very interesting job because you're sitting there going like this all day. So I don't know where that person went, but they went and they found some other job that's more interesting than what they were doing previously. And so, yes, I think there will be some jobs that are lost because of AI, but we will find new roles or new benefits for AI that we don't know about yet. I'll give you an example. This website that I was talking about, the South Bay Savings website, it was built by two high school students.
Oh, nice.
Um, and ordinarily, this is like a 6 month, $500,000 project.
Uh-huh.
But in our early testing, that website is driving more traffic to the stores that are being featured on that website.
Nice.
So ultimately, the stores are benefiting from this, even though upfront the costs were cheaper, but the costs were cheaper because we used AI. So you
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? Like there's downstream benefits that we can't think about yet.
Totally.
That said, I understand people's concern, and I think it's important that when we think about scaling or when we think about education or when we think about training, we're thinking about how do we use AI to make our roles more effective as opposed to how does AI actually take my job? I think that's the key question. So even for like an investment banking analyst or whatever, if you have a AI tool that does your Excel modeling for you, there's still insights and analysis that will come out of it that are more effective than you just sitting there being on Excel all day. So it's about using AI to empower yourself as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, so using AI as a tool. Yeah, and I
Exactly.
can totally agree because the presentations which used to take me like doing the research and everything like 6 to 8 hours, nowadays everything is done within half an hour using
Exactly.
different AI because they do all the research for me and then put it together, and I just need to improve it. So
Excellent. Exactly.
thank you. So what does economic freedom mean to you for your constituents or in general?
The ability to choose how you spend your time.
Hmm.
If you have time freedom, I think you have a lot. And time freedom typically comes at the very end. Typically, it comes when you've done everything that you want to do, and also your children have the resources they need to succeed, and you have your savings in place, and everything else is in place, and you sort of have the mental peace that you don't need to do anything anymore unless you want to do that. And that takes some time to get to, and people have different levels of it. But once you achieve time freedom, I think you've achieved financial freedom.
Amazing. So I know you have a hard stop at 5:45. So if you want, I can just then not do the rapid fire round. I can go directly to closing. Or do you think you have 2 minutes extra? Then I can do the rapid fire round.
Sure, we can do the rapid fire. Yeah.
Okay. Because these are just one word answers you can give.
Okay.
Just and I only have around 7 questions. So Coffee or chai during campaign season?
Coffee.
Most underrated local restaurant?
Dana Bazaar probably was my favorite. Now, that's a good question. I don't know. I go to Siam Salatai too. I don't know if you've been there. That place is really good.
Where is it? What city?
It's Fremont. It's right by the Tesla factory.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Last thing you Googled?
Oh God. I'm growing. Can I use ChatGPT?
Sure.
We're growing. My son's growing a tomato plant, and we wanted to see how it was growing, so we took a picture and sent it to ChatGPT.
Oh, nice. Amazing. I used to have a tomato garden growing up because I grew up in big houses where my mom used to love to grow all the vegetables.
Oh, so you can give me advice then. Okay.
I guess maybe not good one because I put so much fertilizer, everything grows so tall.
Yeah.
So, one word your team would use to describe you.
Uh, Persistent.
Awesome. And we need persistence and resilience every time, right? So, favorite way to decompress during stressful weeks?
I go for walks a lot. That is nice.
Yeah. Any state change as well as it gives you fresh air and some endorphins in the system, right?
Exactly.
So, really great choice. So, what song would you play when you walk in on a debate stage?
Oh, good question. California Love by Tupac.
Nice. And biggest myth about running for office?
Uh, God, it is it's more fun than people think it is. It's quite actually enjoyable to meet people all over the place that you would not meet otherwise.
Nice. What gives you hope right now?
Kids, I think I meet young people and they're just so smart and ambitious and curious, and I love that.
Nice. So, what's one message you want young people to hear?
Um, Always be curious. I think learning, and now it's easier than ever to learn things. I would just say maintain your curiosity throughout your entire life.
And I had like one question. Your answer made me remember that earlier in my presentation. So they were saying that there's so much information coming from so many sites. How do you focus on the relevant one?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you have to do a little more work than you would plan to. So you have to consume information from multiple sites
Yeah,
and then try to narrow it down and pick out the truth and try to do as much primary research as you can. I think that's really important.
awesome. So if listeners remember you only for one thing from this conversation, what should that be?
Ghar ka beta hai. I mean, I grew up here, so I'm trying to represent the people that I know so well.
Nice. So your family to the constituents, right? Huh? So why now? Why you? Why this race?
I think it's important right now to get Rokana out of office because I don't think he's doing a good job. Why me? Because I grew up in this area and I started two companies, and entrepreneurship is a big critical part of this. And why this race? Again, because I think we need to get Rokana out of office. I don't think he's a good representative for this district.
Totally not, because most of the laws he supports, like SB 403,
Yeah,
annoys and
exactly.
angers us more than anything else, and he never answers all the questions. So,
Exactly.
what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I want people to think of me as someone that helped, someone that was genuine, someone that was designed to uplift not only their situation, but their spirits. And if people think of me that way, I'll be happy.
Awesome. That's so refreshing. Like people always want someone who really does what they promise and whom they can approach whenever they have some problem, some issue, and someone who listens to them and has their best interest in their mind as leading them. So that's really
Exactly.
amazing. So what is your belief about success, leadership, or America? Do you think we need to unlearn or move forward? And what are some of the closing things you would like to share with the listeners?
I think what America did very well is that it was a very ambitious country, and we supported people from everywhere that wanted to come here and realize their potential. And I want to make sure that we retain that. I want to make sure the next Jensen Huang decides to come to America and not go somewhere else and creates hundreds of thousands of jobs and trillions of dollars of value. That's, I think, really important. Otherwise, as I said, California is going to lose its charm and we're going to become like France or something where people only go there to vacation. Look, I think this race is at a really critical juncture in the story of California. And the 17th district is one of the most important districts of the whole country. And so we are putting everything we can into this fight. And the more that we can get support from people, grassroots support, the better. The website is Ethan for the number 4congress.com. I would encourage people to visit it. If you can spare a few dollars to contribute, that's also very helpful.
Awesome. So, listeners, we had a refreshing talk with Ethan Agarwal, running for District 17, right?
District 17, that's right.
District 17. And he is our guy who listens to us and will work for the community. And when you are watching this, we are also going to share the QR code where you can either contribute, and no contribution is too small, or if you want to volunteer or help out in any way, just feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions, definitely let us know so that we can take it to Ethan, or you can directly ask him through the QR code to his website and get all your questions resolved, all your answers done, so that we all can go and elect him to really represent us as a senator and take our best interests forward. And I love the whole conversation, but the best thing I loved about him is not just that he's an immigrant like most of us, but also he has worked his way from ground up, building successful companies. So he knows how to make things successful, as well as he is willing to not just fight for the community, but also make laws that keeps the jobs here, that brings more companies here, and that improves the quality of life of all of us when the companies are here and we have good jobs and we have good educational systems. So if you have any questions, any comments, anything else you would like us to cover, let us know. Until then, keep smiling.
Thank you so much.